Chapter 1, The Mountain's Silent Debt. The sun had barely begun to touch the glass spires of Oakhaven when the bedroom door of the Vance penthouse was kicked open. A cold, sharp voice sliced through the silence, followed immediately by the rustle of silk as the duvet was ripped away. Caleb Thorne sat up slowly, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. He looked up at the woman standing over him. She was 30, dressed in a tailored Versace power suit that cost more than most families earned in a year. Her face was a mask of cold perfection, but her eyes were filled with a deep, boiling disgust. "Get up, Caleb," Elara Vance hissed, her voice dripping with artificial ice. "The sight of you sleeping while I am already preparing to save this family's empire makes me sick to my stomach." Caleb sighed, a low, grounded sound. "I was up until 3 a.m. cleaning the kitchen after your dinner party, Elara. I just needed a few." "I don't care what you needed," she snapped, throwing a folder of documents onto the bed. "My grandfather was senile when he forced me to marry you. He claimed your family saved ours during the Great Crash, but all I see is a peasant who has spent 3 years eating my food and wearing the clothes I paid for." Caleb looked at her, his intense, calm eyes reflecting the stillness of the Black Ridge peaks. For 20 years, his mother, Diana Thorne, had enforced a vow of poverty on him. He was forbidden from revealing his name or touching a single cent of the Thorne fortune until his character was forged in the fire of humility. "You are my wife, Elara," Caleb said quietly. "I made a promise to protect you." "Protect me?" Elara laughed, a jagged, hollow sound. "You can't even protect yourself from the mockery of my cousins. You are a useless piece of trash, Caleb. A charity case." She reached into her Louis Vuitton bag and pulled out a crumpled $100 bill. She tossed it at his chest, where it fluttered to the floor. "Take it. Go buy a suit that doesn't smell like the mountains. I have a gala tonight, and if you show up in those rags, I will divorce you regardless of my grandfather's will." She stormed out, the door slamming with a finality that shook the walls. Caleb picked up the bill and reached for a battered, cracked phone hidden under the mattress. He dialed a number consisting only of zeros. "The vow is broken," Caleb said, his voice dropping an octave into a tone of absolute authority. "Young master." A voice on the other end trembled. "The seals are released. Your balance has been updated." Caleb looked at the screen. Personal balance, $500 million. Operating funds, $10 billion. The mountain had finally begun to move. Chapter 2, The BMW Rejection. Caleb walked into the BMW dealership on the edge of the financial district. The air inside was heavy with the scent of expensive leather and the arrogance of the elite. He was still wearing his faded jeans and a t-shirt that had been washed so many times the color was a ghostly gray. A salesman named Victor was leaning against a black M7, adjusting his Versace tie in the reflection of the glass. He was surrounded by a group of young socialites, including Elara's cousin, Bradley Vance. "Oh, look," Bradley sneered, pointing a finger at Caleb's mountain boots. "It's the Vance family's stray dog. Did Elara give you a day pass from the kitchen, Caleb?" Victor, the salesman, didn't even bother to stand up straight. He looked at Caleb with a sneer that matched Bradley's. "The service entrance is for deliveries only, kid. We don't have any scraps for you today." Caleb ignored the laughter and walked straight to the M7. He placed a hand on the cool, black hood. "I'd like to see the interior of this one. And I want to know if you have the armored glass package in stock." Victor let out a dry, hacking laugh. "The armored package? That car is $300,000, you clown. If you leave a fingerprint on that paint, I'll have security sue you for the cost of a respray." Bradley stepped forward, his chest puffed out. "Victor, don't waste your breath. He probably has $10 in his pocket. He's here to take photos so he can pretend he's a real man on the internet." Caleb didn't argue. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a matte black card. It was made of a heavy, cold metal, with a single gold ridge embossed on the corner. "Run the card, Victor," Caleb said, his voice carrying a weight that made the salesman's smile falter. "And while you're at it, call the manager. I don't just want the car. I want to discuss the buyout price for this entire franchise." Chapter 3, The Manager's Terror. Bradley Vance doubled over with laughter. "The buyout price? Caleb, you've finally lost your mind. That card is probably a movie prop you bought for $5. Victor smirked, taking the card with 2 fingers as if it were contaminated. "Fine. I'll run it just so I can watch the declined message pop up in red letters. It'll be the highlight of my week." He walked to the terminal and swiped the card. The machine didn't beep. Instead, it let out a deep, harmonic chime, a sound Victor had only heard once in his 10-year career. It was the infinite tier alert. The screen didn't show a balance. It simply displayed a message in gold text: "Sovereign authorization confirmed. Priority 1." A man in a sharp gray suit burst out of the back office. This was Mr. Sterling, the regional director. He had received a high-priority alert on his personal phone the moment the card touched the terminal. He didn't look at Bradley. He didn't look at Victor. He sprinted toward Caleb and bowed so low his forehead nearly hit the marble floor. "Young master." Sterling gasped, his voice shaking with pure, unadulterated terror. I had no idea you were in Oakhaven. Please, forgive the insolence of my staff. I will have them dealt with immediately." Victor's face went from smug to bone-white in a heartbeat. The card slipped from his trembling fingers. "Mr. Sterling, you can't be serious. He's a mountain peasant. He's Caleb Thorne." Sterling turned on Victor, his eyes blazing with fury. "You idiot. This peasant is the reason this dealership has a floor to stand on. Pack your things. You're blacklisted from the automotive industry globally." Caleb picked up his card and looked at Bradley, who was standing frozen, his mouth hanging open like a landed fish. "Tell your father that the loan for the Vance factory is dead, Bradley," Caleb said. "The mountain has a long memory. And I remember every word you said today." Chapter 4, The Miracle of the Ridge Walker. Elara Vance was at her breaking point. She sat in her office, the lights dimmed, staring at a spreadsheet that showed a $20 million deficit. Her uncle Marcus had already called 3 times, reminding her that the board would vote to remove her on Monday morning. "Is this it?" she whispered to the empty room. "Did I lose everything because I was too proud to ask for help?" Her phone vibrated. A WeChat notification from an account with no profile picture. Name: The Ridge Walker. "You're staring at the numbers again, Elara," the message read. "Stop looking at the debt and start looking at the people who caused it." Elara's heart skipped a beat. She typed back frantically, "Who is this? How are you in my private server?" "I am the shadow that the mountain cast over this city," the ghost replied. "Check your corporate account in 5 minutes. The 20 million is already moving." Elara laughed bitterly. 20 million. No one gives away that kind of money. What do you want? My company? My soul? "I want you to remember what it's like to breathe without a weight on your chest," the message said. "And I want you to look at your husband tonight. Really look at him." Elara threw the phone onto the desk. "Caleb? What does he have to do with this?" She opened her banking portal, prepared to see the same red numbers. Instead, the screen refreshed. Incoming wire, $20 million. Source: Black Ridge Capital. Elara fell back into her chair, her breath coming in ragged gasps. A miracle had just landed in her lap, sent by a ghost who claimed her husband was the key. She looked at the wedding photo on her desk. Caleb looked so simple, so plain. "It's impossible," she whispered. "He was folding laundry when I left." Chapter 5, The Star of Black Ridge. The Oakhaven Grand Ballroom was a sea of shimmering silk and biting whispers. Elara arrived alone, her chin held high, but she could feel the eyes of the elite boring into her back. Bradley Vance was there, his face still pale from the events at the dealership, but he was surrounded by his cronies, regaining his confidence. "Look at her," Bradley sneered as Elara passed. "The CEO of a sinking ship. I heard she's so broke she had to fire her maid. I guess her trash husband is doing the scrubbing now." The crowd chuckled. Sylvia, Elara's aunt, stepped forward with a champagne flute. "Elara, dear, I heard the bank revoked your credit. If you need a loan for a new dress, you only have to ask. We are family, after all." Elara felt the familiar sting of humiliation. She opened her mouth to defend herself, but the heavy oak doors of the ballroom were thrown open with such force that the chandeliers rattled. A man walked in. He was wearing a suit of charcoal silk that seemed to absorb the light. His hair was swept back, revealing a sharp, royal jawline that made every other man in the room look common. The whispers died instantly. The socialites stared, trying to place the face. It took Elara 10 seconds to realize she was looking at Caleb. He walked straight to her, his footsteps echoing on the marble. He didn't look like a house husband. He looked like a king who had returned to claim a stolen throne. "You're late, Elara," Caleb said, his voice a deep, resonant hum that filled the hall. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He flipped it open, revealing a blue diamond the size of a bird's egg. The Star of Black Ridge. The room gasped. Even the most jaded billionaires leaned in to see. A diamond of that clarity was worth more than the ballroom itself. "I believe you dropped this," Caleb said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. Bradley stepped forward, his face contorted with rage. "That's a fake. Security. This man is an imposter. He's a deadbeat. Throw him out." Caleb didn't even turn to look at him. He simply handed the diamond to Elara, his eyes locking onto hers with a quiet, dangerous intensity.